Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 110, all about choice boards in the classroom. So today I have a very special guest. She is a fellow teacher and her name is Loren Thorpe. She is coming all the way from across the world in Australia. I'm so excited. I love talking to people from Australia. And she is another beautiful person from such a special place. And she's talking to us all about choice boards in our classroom. It's a really super exciting episode, and you're going to get such great ideas for your own classroom. Hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey! So like I said in the beginning, we were talking to a very special educator, Loren Thorpe, who is from Blue Sky Design. She is talking to us all about using choice boards in the classroom. So you know how I feel about things like makerspace and thinking outside of the box and kids discovering and learning and offering students a different way of showing what they know. Well, this is another example of showing what you know in a different alternative way, or at least allowing your students to make some choices in how they show what they know, which I think is really cool and very powerful. And I have a great time talking to Loren today, and I'm excited for you to hear this episode. One thing I want to tell you is that she has a 50 ways of using choice boards in your classroom, and you can grab that. It's in the show notes. If you just click that link and hop on over, she just type in your name and whatever, and she will send that to you for free. It's really helpful, and I think it'll really help a lot. And I think it would be a really cool thing to do in a makerspace. So I'm really interested in what you or how you would use it in your classroom or in your homeschooling environment or in your makerspace. So in the Makerspace Thinking and Learning group, I want you to jump in there and tell me how you would use choice boards. So that is my call to action. Jump in the Makerspace Thinking and Learning group on Facebook. And if you're not in that group, then definitely get in that group. I'll link to that in the show notes. And then jump on in and let me know about Loren's idea of choice boards and what you think and how you might use that in the classroom. All right, let's get on with the show. So I'm so excited to have Loren Thorpe here today from Blue Sky Designs by Mrs. T. And she is coming all the way from Australia, it feels like the other side of the world to me. And I know I'm saying her name wrong, so I'm going to let her introduce herself because she says it so beautifully, unlike myself. So welcome.
Hi, Trina. Yes, I'm Loren Thorpe, and I'm so pleased to be on the show today.
I'm really happy to have you. I'm excited. So you are talking to teachers about choice boards, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background and what you like of teaching and things like that?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated from university at the end of 2015, and during my studies, it's a 4-year course to get your teaching degree here. I'm not sure if that's the same in the US.
Yes.
Yep. So during that time, I was actually a tutor, and I just did that privately. I wasn't doing that through a company. And just through word of mouth, I became fully booked. I had so many students during that time. I absolutely loved tutoring.
Wow.
And that really gave me a real glimpse into the sorts of learning needs that different students have. And because I was working with them individually, I really got to know them well, and really got the opportunity to cater my teaching to meet their needs. And so that's kind of where it started. And then after that, I did relief teaching for a couple of years. I saw lots of different schools between my student teaching at university and my relief teaching afterwards. I worked in schools that were in a lower socioeconomic kind of demographic. So, you had challenges there where students were coming to school without some of their basic needs having been met, without having been fed in the morning. And
Yes.
then I also worked in schools that were more prestigious, high-end girls' private schools,
Mm-hmm.
where they still had learning needs and challenges. They just looked a bit different. And so that was really eye-opening for me. After 2 years of that, I was a full-time classroom teacher in a year 3 and 4 combined class.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the start of 2020, I actually left the classroom to have my first baby. So now I'm a stay-at-home mum.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had quite the journey in a short amount of time, but from the very start, I've just been very aware of the different learning needs that kids have and how important it is to differentiate our teaching. And I've been, I guess, trying to build my repertoire of strategies to use to be able to deliver the content in a way that does cater to all of the different learning needs that you'll find in different learning environments.
Yeah, wow. I think that is excellent. I love that. I love that you have had like a different variety of experience and starting off tutoring. I think that's so interesting because it's almost like you don't, at least in America, like when you jump right into a school system, you kind of get almost like that tainted version of what you could actually do after you've been to school and you're excited about implementing all these things and you get there and it's like, ugh, it's, you feel like you can't do some of the things that you learned about. But I would think starting off as like tutoring and working with like a variety of ages, I'm assuming, then you have a chance to try all these different things and things would be like, it would be what a different way of like starting off your teaching experience. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I actually, my youngest student that I tutored was 4 and the oldest was 14. Um,
Wow.
so, so I did really get to try a lot of my ideas, and it was great to be doing it alongside my studies because then when I learned things, I could go and try them straight away.
Yes.
Um, and then, I was able to take that experience with me by the time I did graduate and was in the schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that I really think that's cool. I know when I was getting my master's in 2011, I was doing I didn't have like a classroom anymore. I was the like reading remediation teacher. So all of the students in the grade level in second grade that were struggling came to me and they came at, different times and it was like a rotation kind of thing. And I got to do all of this stuff that I was learning about, like right then in the moment. And it was so powerful to
Mm.
experience that. And it wasn't like that for me as like a student teacher, because we had to do a student teacher thing where you were like working in a classroom, but you were also like at school and the teacher was kind of monitoring you. And
Mhm.
I never, because you never could really, it didn't feel like it was completely your own. It felt like it was someone else's classroom. And I don't know, it just didn't seem the same as that, like learning while doing kind of thing. I don't know. I really, I appreciate that. What is relief teaching?
Sorry, relief teaching is substitute teaching.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, I
so
like
just
that
being
actually
fully.
better. Yeah. That sounds like it doesn't sound so bad. Like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, relief teaching rather than I'm being a sub for the day. Yeah. I like everything in Australia sounds better to me. I feel like did you ever read that book, Alexander's Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day?
I've seen the movie adaptation. I haven't actually read the book.
Keep forgetting there's a movie. Yes, the book. And he just talks about just how he's just going to move to Australia. And 'cause he just keeps getting so upset. And he's like, I'm just going to move to Australia. And I used to, as a kid, I'm like, I'm just going to move to Australia. Like, that's what I would tell my mom. So I think that's funny. Anyway, all right. So a lot of different experience. The one thing that you've come back to is how important it is to meet the needs of each child. And we know that they're so vast. It's such a difference. And I have a Facebook community, like a group of people, and it's called Makerspace Thinking and Learning. And one of the main like premises of this is because I really want us to look at some of the different ways that kids think and learn, and we can incorporate things that are engaging and allow for creativity. And I think it's so important. So as soon as I heard about your choice boards and your idea about that, I wanted you to come and share that with my audience, because I'm thinking that sounds like a great idea. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is and what that might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So student choice boards aren't a new concept. They have been around for a while. What you usually see, though, is they're either used for homework. So people will give kids, a grid of homework activities
Mhm.
and say, okay, you can do these in any order, complete these by the end of the week, and that's that. Or sometimes they're used in the classroom for kids who kind of finish their work early. There might be some options for them to then go on with after they've done everything else. But it's only really been recently that teachers are starting to unlock the potential of this strategy. What a student choice board is, so that we're just all on the same page, it's really simple. It can sound intimidating, but it's just some sort of display. It can be a board, it can be a grid, it can be a wall of post-it notes, just some sort of display that provides students with a selection of task options that they can choose from to display either a skill or their understanding of a topic. So it can be as simple as just getting 3 different colored pieces of paper and writing 3 different tasks on there and saying to your students, okay, today I want to see how well you have comprehended our class novel, for example, and you can choose which of these activities you use to show me your understanding of what we've been reading. And you go through the expectations, and then the kids can choose which one works best for them. So it can be simple. On the opposite end, it can also be really complex. I've talked about in a blog post I have for ELA assessment choice boards. I've talked about how you can use it for assessment, and you can be assessing 5 different skills at once by color coding it and getting the kids to pick one activity from each of the colored categories. So it's
That's
really
really cool.
versatile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good. I want to link to that in the show notes if people want to read further, so they
Yeah.
can kind of check that out and see that blog, because that is really helpful. I think it's so important to allow kids to show what they know in different ways. And that's what that sounds like that. Like, maybe someone would want to tell about if they were going to, express their level of comfort, understanding of the novel, of the classroom novel. They could do an iMovie, or they could create an
Yeah.
iMovie, or they could create a podcast episode, or they could do a written, normal written thing that a lot of people do, or they could do like a visualization or something like that. I think that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I find, a lot of teachers are trying to differentiate their teaching for their students, but what can sometimes happen is we tend to cater for the students who, I guess, are academically at the lowest sort of level and need a lot of extra support. And then we might also cater for the students who need extension and who are at the top kind of academic level. And then all of the students in the middle can kind of get put in this one category, which is understandable because it's hard to cater for lots of
Yes.
different needs. But I have found that student choice boards allow you to have more than just those 3 levels, and also to take into consideration different learning styles. So maybe,
Yes.
like you said, you might have a child who's much more confident speaking, putting a podcast together or a video, then writing out their thoughts. And if you're not you're not trying to assess their writing,
Yes.
there's no reason why you can't give them the opportunity to do that a different way. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. And while you're saying that and thinking about like different learning styles, I'm like, oh, and then someone could write a song. They could sing a
Yeah.
song. Cause I'm like, my mind just starts going, and I'm like, yeah, or they could do a play. I mean,
Yeah.
like all these different things come to my mind where they can show, what they know. But I love that, because you're right. It's those I don't know, middle average students that often are overlooked, or their specific need isn't really, it's not cultivated as much. Like there, I used to do this in my classroom where I had smart stations, I called it, based on the multiple intelligence,
Hmm.
theory. And I had like each station was like, people smart and word smart and music smart and whatever. And that's what we called it. But we talked about how often, like we analyzed it too. Sometimes we're like, why did you go to that particular station? And they would say that they liked music or they liked whatever it was. But then I would ask them to stretch themselves, like go to a
Hmm.
different spot and see like how it feels in that way, so that you can kind of like get that metacognitive kind of thing going, but also try something else just to see if it might be a way in which you do learn, or that you do enjoy. So I think in this case, like it might even be a good idea every so often to like have them pick something that they might not have picked before, like they might not have tried in the
Hmm.
past. I mean, obviously the purpose is for them to be able to show what they know, and so you would want them to pick what they liked doing, because I think we get so much more from them when they actually enjoy it.
Hmm.
But I also,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because one of the um, things that I guess makes teachers a little bit hesitant to try this is they often say, well, what if a student is just going to choose the same thing all the time?
Mhm.
And there are a few ways that I would suggest getting around that issue. First of all, if you do notice that a lot of your students are choosing one particular activity repeatedly, and
Mhm.
let's say that they keep deciding to make videos and you do need to find a sample of their writing,
Mhm.
then you can just change up the tasks so that they all involve some level of writing.
Mhm.
The other option is to just be honest with the kids, and like you were saying, talk through it with them.
Mhm.
And if it's an individual student, there's no reason you can't kind of have a conversation and say, you've really shown me so many times that you are really confident with explaining your ideas through video, and I think that's great. Thank you for showing me that. I
Mhm.
am confident that you are able to do that well. What I'm wondering is, are you able to show me how you go writing your ideas? Because I'd love to see how that works for you, and just have an honest conversation. I always find that um, when you just lay it out to the
Mhm.
kids honestly, they
Mhm.
usually respond really well. There's no need to hide it and pretend that
Yes.
there's some other reason that they need to do it.
Yes. No, yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
just let them know.
Open
Yeah.
conversations even with younger children. I mean, I taught second grade for most of my career, some first grade, but mainly second grade, and they understood. And then
Hmm.
sometimes it was like that was the expectation, was that we were going to stretch ourselves. Like
Hmm.
today is a stretching day. Today we're going to challenge ourselves to pick something different.
Hmm.
And so I want you to pick something that's different than what you've done before. And I think that, especially if you think of it like it's a challenge, I'm challenging you, you kind of
Yeah.
put it in that game like conversation. I think it helps. And I do think it's like, it's being honest. Like I can pick this every single time and I can do well, but then I never find out that I'm actually like a songwriter at heart. I'm not. And I don't know why that keeps coming to me. But that would be a stretch for me. I think that's why I keep thinking of that. Because if someone told me I had to sing a song in front of my class, or I had to write some music, I would have a hard time. I would have a really hard time. But I think that if the majority of the time I got to act it out or something like that, and and then every once in a while I was asked to do it in a different way, I think I would be a lot more willing than if I had to
Mm.
do it the exact same way every single time. So I think that's a great idea. I love that. Do you have like choice boards? Do you have like ideas and things like that in your shop on TPT?
Yeah, so to go along with this episode, I've actually put together a list of 50 activity ideas that you can use for student
Wow.
choice boards.
Mm.
That's available for free. I can email that out to your listeners. Because yeah, I don't know about you, but when I went to professional development days
Mhm.
as a teacher, sometimes you'd be sitting there thinking, oh, this is a great idea. I'm going to start it in my classroom as soon as I can. And then you know, the next day would come and you might not have been given any
Yes.
follow-up materials, and you're just thrown back into it, and it doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen today. I want your
No.
listeners to have something to
Yes.
take with them.
Yes. Here's some
Um,
ideas, because sometimes you just need a couple of ideas to get your
yeah,
own brain rolling. So I think that's great. Can I drop a link somewhere in my show notes that they can click on to
yeah,
get that? Okay, good.
yep. I'll
So
send you the link to
all
that.
right, that'll be great. So then they can click on it and they can go to the show notes. They can click on it and they can get that download. Because I think that you're right. Those kind of things are very helpful. It's really helpful to have like a springboard sometimes. At least that is
Mhm,
for me. I know it is. I
mhm.
know I can think of all kinds of things, but sometimes when I'm like my I've got the fire on me. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll just do it the regular way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
That's what happens a lot of the time. So yeah, my hope is that you'll at least be able to get enough options from that list for one choice board, and then you can
Mhm.
at least try in your class. And if it's something that is new to you and your students, I recommend just starting small and just seeing how it goes, because sometimes when you try a new teaching strategy, there are little things that you don't notice that you might need to adjust. And
Yes.
so I would recommend, you know, maybe just starting with 4 options, and then um, introducing that to your students, figuring out how you should display it, how you
Mhm.
should set the expectations, and then seeing how your students respond to that as well. And that way, you kind of get an idea of if you need to make any adjustments to the tasks, or to how you go through the activities with your students, or to how they work on it, before you jump right in with you know 9 options and
Yes. Oh
having
my goodness. Can it go
5.
up to that no that amount? Like it goes up to like to 9 options? That's a lot.
Yeah, well, I have a resource that I'm putting together at the moment on student choice boards aimed at upper primary, so upper elementary,
Mhm.
and that includes 9 options on each board.
Wow. Yes.
Um,
Wow.
and there are different um, boards for different subjects. So, you know,
Mhm.
there's arts and history, maths and science, reading, writing, and so on. But in those cases, I would usually get the students to do more than one, um, because, yeah, it
Mm.
can be, I guess, a lot of planning on your part if you're catering to 9 different learning styles, but then the
It
kids are only choosing one. So,
You're only
yeah,
choosing one, but you're still really only grading one thing or assessing one thing from each student. And in this
yeah.
way, you don't have you're not going to get bored of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is probably for a more longer term kind
Mhm.
of um,
Like project
yeah
kind of thing.
activity. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it can get up to that, but you don't have to start at that, especially if you're working with younger students. Yeah, just start small with 3 or 4 and go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. So what do you say to teachers who say, well, I don't have time. Like I don't have time to offer different choices. Like what would you say to that? Because sometimes it feels like that, teachers don't have time and they don't feel like they can implement something because they don't know when they're ever going to possibly get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Teachers are very busy, and that is why this was kind of a go-to strategy of mine, is because
Mhm.
I don't actually feel it adds much time to my planning. The first time it might be a bit of an adjustment, especially if you're not used to giving the students options in
Choice.
how they
Mhm.
do activities. It will take a bit of an adjustment on your part, and it might involve a bit of an adjustment to your students too, because they might um, need some help making the decision.
Yes.
But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And when you're planning one, so just to give you an idea of the
Yes.
basic planning
Okay.
process,
Mhm.
um, what I would do is I would look at the skills that I am trying to assess or allow the kids to practice. So you
Mhm.
can use it to introduce a topic. It might be something they haven't done before. I often use them for assessment. So
Mhm.
let's assume I'm assessing, um, say, reading comprehension again.
Mhm.
Then I'll look at the standards and the skills that I want the kids to show me.
Mhm.
And teachers already do that anyway, so that's not
Yes.
adding extra
No, you're right.
time.
That's right.
And then where you would usually decide on one project or one activity for your
Mhm.
students to do, you're just putting in a few more options. And sometimes, you know, teachers would sit there thinking, oh, should I do this or should I do this? And, you know, often we do come up with more than one idea
You're
anyway.
right. Now you can use
Um,
all the ideas you come up
yeah,
with.
exactly. Now you're
Yeah.
just giving the students a bit of a say. And so the only additional time, I guess, comes from how you display that to the kids.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, because planning wise, you think of the skills you want to assess, you think
Mhm.
of, say, 4 activities. If I'm doing reading comprehension, I might give them the opportunity to do a book report, a written book
Mhm.
report. They might need to put together a presentation to
Mhm.
recommend this book and share what they know from it. They might need to put together a quiz for other
Mhm.
students and based on the main themes and things like that. Or they might need to compare this book to another one we've read earlier in the year and tell me
Oh.
the similarities and differences. So
Oh.
that's the 4 activities. Then you just display that. And I think some teachers can get caught up on how they display this. It doesn't need to be a big bulletin board or anything fancy, although it can be if you enjoy
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But yeah, you just, you can write it up on the whiteboard in a grid. You can get some paper and put it along the floor. And when the kids walk into the classroom, they can see the options, or you can do it digitally. You might share that on Google Classroom or Seesaw or whichever platform you're using.
Yes.
And then once you've set it up and gone through the expectations, which is
Mhm.
important, you need to tell your students what you're expecting them to show you
Mhm.
through the task. Then nothing else really
No,
changes
it
the
doesn't.
students.
And I actually think an answer even to that would be, well, you're going to save time that you would normally take to deal with behavior issues. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to avoid a lot of that because when you give children choices, they feel like they have a little bit more control of their situation, and the behavior usually is better when they feel like they have control and they have a voice and they have a say. So I think you're actually going to save time rather than increase time just because you've added more activities. So that's what I was thinking while you were saying that, because I'm thinking about all the students that I have talked to and dealt with, like as a student support specialist, that I've done that job. I did that job for a couple of years, and going to into classrooms and having to take kids out because the teacher, had just had it with them basically. I am like, a lot of times, if kids, I'm thinking of various kids as you're talking, and I'm like, this person and this person and this person, they all would have the problem would never have occurred if they had felt like had a chance or a choice, an opportunity to pick something that worked for them. So I think you're actually going to be saving time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I find that it is really good for building relationships with kids because not only does it allow you to see what they feel most comfortable with, so
Mhm.
you get to know them because you get to see what they find
Mhm.
most engaging and interesting, but you're also showing them that you trust them enough to make a decision about their own learning. And
Yeah.
I mean, particularly with older students, they just want some
Yeah.
responsibility. They just want you to give them that respect of allowing them to make their own choices. And yeah, I find that it's a really good way to let the students know that you value them and their learning, and that you're willing to cater to them.
Yes, and you believe that they can. And I
Yeah.
think that that's something that I don't think I realized even as a parent actually for a long time, like doing things for my kids. I'm like, I'm sending them the message that I don't think they are capable. And I don't want them to think that I don't think they're capable. So it actually is important for us to allow kids to have some responsibility and take some ownership in the things that they're doing, even at a very young age. And so I think it sends the message, I do think you're capable. So I think that's great. I love that idea. And I am so excited to share that, especially the 50 ideas for my audience are going to be really excited to download that. So we need to make sure that they get to that. And all right, Loren, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on the show
Is there,
today.
yeah, I really appreciate you. Is there any, like, how can people find you? They want to know more about you, or they want to come to your store? Like, how can they find you?
Yeah, so my business name is Blue Sky Designs by Mrs. T. So they can find my store on TPT. I do have a few learning menus and challenges at the moment. I'm also working on a particularly focused choice board resource at the moment, which should be released soon. But in the
That's
meantime,
exciting.
you can get the free list of activities. I also have a Facebook page, which is just a good place to find links to blog posts and collaborations and resources and
Mhm.
whatever else I'm working on. And I'll send you the link to that blog post that talks about ELA choice boards
Okay.
because that might be helpful too.
All right. And if you send me your Facebook page and your
Mhm.
TPT store, I'll also link to that in the show notes.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. And if anyone does, feel inspired to try this, I would love to actually see how it goes and hear from them. So, if you're listening and you give this a go, send me a message through my Facebook page or an email, and I would just love to see how you use it to cater to your students.
Yeah, that's cool. That's exciting. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for sticking around. Wasn't that great? I thought that she gave such like smart and helpful tips for using choices in your classroom. So I really want to hear how you are doing that in your classroom. So don't forget to hop into the Facebook group Makerspace Thinking and Learning and share how you might use choice boards in your learning environment. Until next time, people, this one tired teacher is feeling like I might need a little bit of a nap. Again, until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.